and welcome to Modbus Server version 5, new version, been released just a couple of days ago, and we've got a new user interface with some new functionality. So this little video will explain all those differences. Firstly, let's have a quick look at the old version, version 4 and previous versions against version 5. So in version 4 you will notice the top part of the window is the same, has not changed, but the bottom part, this is where all our Modbus data gets displayed, that has undergone an overhaul. We no longer have those radio buttons up here, and we no longer have the buttons down on below, and we've now got an extra column located in the table. So just to have a quick look and have a big comparison here, previously in the older version we have had our register type selected up here, and we could only select one of the register types to be shown in the table below. Now we've got the ability to see all those register types all at the same time, which is one of the new features. We've also had the display format. We've had the display format option here, and if that was selected, every register that was shown in here would be displayed in that format. We haven't got that anymore. We've now got the ability to choose the format for each individual register. We'll demonstrate that very shortly. The buttons, the add button and the remove button, those buttons have now been replaced by a context menu. And let's just start off on how to add a register. So if we want to add a holding register, we do an option click or a right click or a double click, and we get add register. We hit add register, and then a register is added. You can see the little disclosure triangle is now showing, and with the disclosure triangle you can show or hide that. There is also a new column that we've got in here. The column is called name, and before we only had an address and a value, but now we can actually name each of the registers. We've got an address that we can enter in here, and we've got a value that we can enter in here. So in order to change and give this register a name, we can just click on that, and we can call that ABC. That's the name of that register now. The address, I can put an address in here, and I can make that register number 24, for example. And of course I can change the value in here. So that is how we now do the add, and let's just add a couple more registers. So if I hold above the holding and I do an option or right click, I get add register, and it automatically adds the next free address. I can do that again, and it'll add another register, and again, and it'll add another register. When we do the right click on the row that contains the register, so here we right click, we've got two options. We can firstly select how the value in that register is going to be displayed, and you'll notice we have now got two new types. We've got an unsigned versus just a decimal, and we've also got an ASCII, so we can display the register as characters. But we've also got the option to delete. So the delete button that has been removed, that function is now available here. We can delete the register. So as soon as we go and add a register here, and we can add a register to the digital ins and another register to the digital outs, and then we can actually select which ones of those we do want to show at any point in time. Of course, those registers will be updated if a Modbus request comes in and does a write to those registers. So that's basically the main change. So to reiterate, the add and subtract buttons are now available with a context menu on here for add, and a context menu on that line with the delete function. The decimal, hexadecimal, binary, octal, we have now got all of these formats available, and we can change those formats for each individual register. So for example, we can just enter a value in here, and let's just enter, and we can also see, I forgot to mention that, we can also see at the moment the tick on here says we've got a decimal format selected. So I can enter in decimal 255, and then we do a right click and change it to hexadecimal, and that shows us as a 0xFF. The 0x being the indicator that tells us we have got hexadecimal. We can also expand our window, and we can expand that column here as required, and then we can change this to let's say to binary, and in binary you can see the binary value of that. Of course, these registers being 16-bit, one of the things that we can do is we can now enter large values in there, 65,535, and now you can see the difference. If we have a look at that in hexadecimal, you can see that is 0xFF. And now the difference is whether I interpret that number as a decimal, because in a decimal that's -1, but as an unsigned, it becomes 65,535. So here is the different formats that we can have. And if we go back to a hexadecimal here, and let's just put in a hexadecimal number of 4142. We can change that around to an ASCII, and that shows us the ASCII equivalent of 41 and 42. All right, so that gives us a little bit more flexibility now in the way we can display that information. Of course, as before, we have got the ability to go and save that via the save menu. So we do a save, and that allows us to put a name to that file and to save that file. And within that, we actually save the name and the format, and everything is getting saved with that. One other thing that we've now got that's new in the file menu, we have got the open recent. So open recent files, that is something which wasn't there before. We can quickly access the files that we have previously had available in there. There's one more change that we have, and that change is in the settings. And in the settings, we have got a function here now that's called little Endian, or the byte swapping function. By default, Modbus uses a big Endian format, and we can switch it here to a little Endian format because there's various devices that store their data in little Endian format. We might just do a little demonstration of that, so we can switch that on and off. Also take note, we've got the auto add registers function on, so if a client requests a read from a register, we'll automatically create that register. So you don't have to manually create it, it'll be automatically created when the read comes in. This is a very handy function. If you don't know what is being requested, you can just send a request, and the registers will automatically pop up. So let's just say we put a default value of 56 in there, and then we're going to use this function. We probably don't need that screenshot anymore. And then we use that function, and we use our Modbus TCP client. And the Modbus TCP client that we've got here is, we do a connect. So that's now connected. We can see that here. And on here we've got the configuration is a request. holding registers, register address 32 to registers, and that's the read request. So we'll just issue a single read request and read those registers, and you can see over here these registers have been automatically added. So those register 32 and register 33, they've been added now. I can give them the same name as what they are over there. I can call them item 1 and item 2, so they can correlate to that. And now I can see the value that I've got set in here is actually a value that is 11, but it's not showing up as 11 here. And the reason why it's not showing up is very simple. In my settings, I have got the little Endian on, so if I switch that off, do that, and I do another request, I can see I've now got, and let's just have a look at them in the same format. So I can now get those correct values. So if I change that over here to 13 and I do another request, I can see there's now the value 13 coming through. And the little Endian, if for anyone that is interested, you can have a look in the data log, and we can just clear that data log and have a quick look what it actually looks like when we get that request. So you can see here it is transferred. These are the data bytes in the Modbus protocol. You can see 00 and 0D, so that's 13, and 00 and 0B, that is the 11 from here. Now, when we go and change over to use a little Endian, and we now do a request, we can see now we've got the low byte being transmitted first and the low byte being transmitted first here. So that's the difference between little Endian and big Endian. It's the byte order of the register bytes that we've got that we're sending across. All right, that's the features of the new version. I hope you enjoyed them and you get good use out of them. Please leave some feedback and come back and watch some more videos in the future. Thank you for watching.